Hey, bibliophiles, let's break it down. Today I have Brandon Eldridge, who is an author of psychological suspense and horror fiction, with titles like The Establishment, Beings, and what I recently read, Where Shadows Sleep. He writes character driven stories that explore fear, obsession, and the blurred line between reality and perception. Hey, Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. When I finished reading Where Shadows Sleep, I had so many questions, and I was like kind of a little bit of a struggle to make sure it was concise for the call today. But for listeners that are unaware, could you tell them a little bit what that book's about?
Yeah, so it's about an author named Michael Kinsey who you kind of find out throughout the story has had a little bit of a crazy past, and I'll just leave it at that. I guess that's probably the best. And he is a very successful author, and because he's successful, he can kind of branch out and do some different writing that he wants to do, not necessarily what his readers are hoping for. So he's actually really obsessed with ghosts and the afterlife and trying to figure out, you know, is it real? What happens to us? All of that. So becomes a little bit obsessed with a local story where a man drowns and a lot of weird things happen in that scenario. So he wants to write about it, and he wants to write about the guy's name's Ed Nyman. He wants to write about him and did something crazy happen to him, or was it just a drowning? There's a lot of local stories about what happened and what people believe. And he kind of goes a little bit crazy trying to write this story about Ed, and weird things happen to him as he actually goes to a cabin on the lake where it happens. And once he gets in the water, a lot of weird things happen to him.
And so there were so many angles. There's the perception of the ghost, there's fear of getting in the water, there's a family dynamic here, there's a community dynamic. What was the original inspiration behind the story?
It's a really good question. I don't know. One day there's always two or three ideas in my head. And when one sticks around long enough, I think, okay, I guess I got to write that one. And I always had this idea of a lake that was, I don't know, there's something about lakes. You get in a lake, you don't know what's at the bottom, you can't see anything. Even with goggles, you can't, you see like a foot in front of you. And I always just thought, what if there was something weird down at the bottom that nobody knew about? And nobody, you think about when people go missing and well, they found this body 10 years later in the lake because it's so hard to, it's not a pool where you can just see. So I just always had that idea of like a mysterious lake. And there's this is bad. I'm not going to be able to say it word for word, because it's been so long since I wrote that actually. But there's like a legend that people repeat. They say Ed Nyman still lives in the lake. That little poem, or whatever you want to call it, just came to me one night, like laying in bed. And I was like, I got to write this. And that kind of took off from there. Yeah, it was weird. There's a lot of weirdness. I don't know what happened to me as a kid, but it just kind of took off, and the story took off from there.
Well, I'm sorry it came to you one night, but that was one of the creepiest moments to me was like that local legend story because it's one
Mm,
of those like we're not even really into the book yet, but you just that sets the stage so well of the eeriness going on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a blessing, I guess. I don't know. There's actually the book I'm writing now, and I don't want to get away from this, but the book I'm writing now came to me start to finish in a dream, like
Wow.
100%. Yeah, I've never had that happen before, which is nice because I'm like, okay, I know where the story's going to go, but it's also hard because it's like I'm trying to do it justice from the dream,
Hmm.
and I can't really, I mean, there are some things I've kind of improvised, but I'm like trying to follow it straight, which actually makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, all these weird things happen in my head. I don't know. I'm always constantly thinking about two or three stories ahead, and this could happen, and people look at me like I'm crazy. I might be a little bit. I don't know.
I think there needs to, I don't know if I would call it crazy, but I think there needs to be a little imaginative wonder or whimsy in writers, no matter what your genre is, because you have to think beyond the terms of reality.
You do. And it's exhausting at times because even just like, you know, you're out doing a family thing and you think, well, what if, and, but I wonder if, even going to the store, you're like, imagine if in this aisle this had, okay, stop. We're here to get bread and milk.
So, something I thought that was very important in the beginning of Where Shadows Sleep is that Michael observes, I don't think men can fully grasp the loss a way a woman can.
hmm
Can you talk about how that line came to be, why it was important to put in the beginning of the book?
Yeah, what you're talking about is a miscarriage, and I have never gone through that personally. So this was kind of my mom had, but I have not as a father. Honestly, I think about my own kids, and when my daughter was born, my wife fed her, and in the beginning, and everything I noticed everything was dependent on her. Like, yes, I helped out. Yes, I could get up and do this and this. But like my daughter wanted her mom and her mom was there for her all the time. And it was almost like I was just kind of hey, how can I help? Hey, how can I help? So I thought about, when you read the story, their relationship's a little bit rocky and Michael has a rocky past. I wanted to show that, and I wanted to show the reason for some of the tension is what's happened. When my daughter was born, even when my wife was pregnant, I think it has to be that the mother feels differently than the father. You're growing this human inside of you. You feel everything. The dad, you know, hey, feel this kick, but it's not the same. And I think there has to be, and hopefully I never go through that. I don't think I will at my age now, but I can't imagine the loss from a mother's perspective. Knowing what my wife went through in pregnancy, I I can imagine it would just be devastating to both parents, but devastating to a mother in a different way.
And I think that shows how reflective Michael is and how
Mm,
his perspective is not typical, which maybe puts him in the best seat to begin his writing journey about this subject. Sometimes when the main character is an author, a reader can't help but wonder if they'd share any similarities with the author of the book themselves. Is there anything that Michael does, like in his writing journey, that you've done?
mm, I wouldn't say as a writer we're that similar. I don't really have like a routine, honestly. It's just kind of, hey, today I need to sit down and write. I don't have a lot of, I don't set a goal like today I'm going to write 3 pages or today I'm going to write 4,000 words. It's okay, I have time right now. I'm going to write. Honestly, sometimes that's a paragraph and I'm like, that's all I got today. I can't. Sometimes it's, oh my gosh, I cannot stop. And you get 10,000 words in. It's different. I wouldn't say as a writer there's a lot of similarities, but I would say there's probably a lot of me in him, how he views family, and just, I hope I showed in that how much he actually cared for his family and would do anything for them. So I would say that's probably more me in Michael than the author.
Well, he does have a scene with his daughter Nora where he talks about how important reading not only is in general, but for him.
hmm
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think as an author you have to be a reader first. I don't necessarily think you can do one without the other. For me, I like to read a lot of different styles because it gives me different views of how, just different styles, different I love Stephen King. Stephen King's probably the one that got me like, okay, I want to try this. There's a lot of authors that you can tell, for me, I can tell when it's a Stephen King book. And I can tell the way he writes to me is just perfect. And I wish I could do that. But I read a lot of different people because there's, people write it this way and some people write it this way and some people go up, some people go down. Like I think you have to constantly read to be a good writer. I think I don't know that I think that's how it can be learned. I don't know that it can be, and I might be stepping on toes here and I hope I'm not. I don't know that it can be taught in a classroom. I think it's something that you actually have to learn by reading. I think you can get better and learn creative things in a classroom, but I think reading is the way you actually have to become a good writer. And I threw that in there because it's really hard with kids to force them to read is the worst thing you can do because then they want no part of it. I think we tried that with my oldest and now he'll read what I write, but that's about it. Unless it's a invincible comic book, he won't really want any part of it. My daughter actually really likes to read and I've, embraced that and tried to be like, see, reading and look how much fun it is. That's great. But my wife and I constantly read, and I think that's the best thing you can do for your kids is to show them the love of reading. And when they see that, they usually can't help but pick up on it. But yeah, I wanted to make that like clear because that's how I am with my daughter is, I always tell her I'm not always going to buy you a toy every time we go to the store, but pretty much anytime you ask for a book, if we don't have it at the library, I'll get it. Like I will always support that. So that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, and my daughter too, as she's becoming more interested in books, we have a local used bookstore nearby, and it's, books that are maybe like $1.50. And
Yeah,
so,
that's the
like,
best.
if she turns around and like holds it out to me and goes, look, and she ignores the toys, and she's like, oh, I want this book. It's like, how do you say no?
It's
How
so
can you
hard.
say no?
I know, I know. It's so hard. And then you're like, okay, think. And I know she only reads it like once, and then it's like on the floor in her room or on the bookshelf. But I don't know. There's something in a book that the toy, I don't know. Books are like you have a book, you have a book, you have a book. Toys come and go, like, but there's something in a book that can stay with you. I feel like toys kind of lose their fun or their value when books can always be there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, talking about the spirit of a story, ghosts obviously are a huge theory in the book, and we hear a lot of perspectives of what they are. For you personally, what do you think ghosts are?
That's a so when I say I have similarities to Michael, that's probably the biggest one because I am fascinated with the afterlife. I'm fascinated with ghosts and what happens to us. I think it comes from I'm such a family guy, not the cartoon, that I think the worst thing that can happen to you in life is losing somebody you love. And there's just some horrific part that's the finality of it that you never can see this person again. You never can talk to this person again. It's like the ultimate torture in life. And it's the I don't want to sound like a pessimistic person, but it's like the cruelest part and the most horrible thing is that we go through life and then eventually everybody you know is gone. And we're gone too. And I wish there was just some way. I don't know. I've never been dead, so I don't know. But I wish there was a way to find out what happens. How can you get back to your loved ones? How can you communicate in some way? I think that would be the best thing. And maybe there is, and maybe it's a dream. Maybe dreams are what are the way to communicate. There's a part in the book where he kind of talks to his daughter about the afterlife, and they're talking about their grandpa. Not long after I wrote the book, or not before I started writing the book, not long before I finished it, my dad passed away kind of unexpectedly. And a lot of that, thank you, a lot of that came in from that, because obviously the worst thing I've ever gone through is losing a parent. I think the only thing that would be worse is a child, spouse. I don't know. It's all horrible, but a lot of that came from that, and just ways that I miss my dad and I wish I could talk to him. I've had so many dreams about him and where we're talking and things, and I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if the answer is you come to your loved one in dreams, but yeah, I feel like that's where all of that came from, and that's, I don't want to say I'm fascinated by it, but I wish I knew, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's the not knowing. I
Hmm.
was very close to my grandfather growing up, and when he passed, I swear he talks to me through TV and radio because it's just like the oddest things will happen.
Hmm.
Like when I was on the first date with my husband, a Patsy Cline song in a restaurant that typically does not play and
Yeah,
started playing. When I was in labor with my daughter in the hospital TV at 3 a.m. A very random that you would not expect movie that was one of his favorites started playing, and it gives you
yeah.
that feeling of eerie. But I
Hmm.
also have lost my ability to believe things are just coincidences.
Yeah,
It's
same. I don't know, and sometimes you're like, am I looking into this or whatever? But I think it was March of 24 when my dad passed away. And even a week or two ago, I had a dream that we were in the house that I grew up in, and he was sitting outside on the front lawn, and he turned around. I was looking at him through the window. It was really weird. And he turned around and he said, "Look how young I look." And I just remember thinking, is that his way of like, I'm fine and everything's
yeah,
good? I don't know. So a lot of my stories have that, besides the establishment, because the establishment's pretty straightforward. A lot of them have like a concept of what happens to us and where do we go and what do we do and how can we communicate.
well, in a more present scope, because Michael, he is very central throughout the entire book.
Mm,
He is our main character in every definition. What do you think that some of his flaws are in retrospect?
wow, that's a good question. I think the main thing is he wasn't as open with his wife as he should have been. I think there was a lot of things. Most things in life are, hey, we can talk through this, and maybe it was a misunderstanding, and maybe, I should have done this. I should. How many times have we said, I should have done this, or I should have said this, or I shouldn't have said this, or I shouldn't have done this? Everyone. I think I don't know if he was too proud, but I think he should have been more open with his wife. I think there are a lot of things that he could have just talked through. I think he's very, which is probably in a lot of guys, I'll figure it out. I don't need to talk to anybody about it. And, I think like therapy and counseling, a lot of people, guys especially, will say, nah, I don't need to do that. I don't need to talk to anybody. I can figure this out. More now in our generation and after us, I think it's more accepted. And I think he probably would have benefited from therapy and counseling and things like that. But I think that's the biggest thing. I think he was just not as, I don't want to say present, but he probably should have been a little more open. And hey, we can talk through this. And this is what I'm feeling. What are you feeling? How is it affecting us? I think that for sure is his biggest.
I felt like every chapter was like a little bit of a cliffhanger because like he would be like, I'm doing this, this is the goal. And then like we would have this side quest, and at the end, it's like, and that didn't happen. And it's like, it's just that twist and curves of which deviation from the goal is going to start the
Yeah,
downward decline of this because it's coming. So like at the
right.
end of every chapter, I was left guessing like, is this it? Is this going to be the thing now? Like he said he was going
Yeah.
to do it and he didn't do it and that's going to be it.
Yeah, and a lot. I don't want to speak for all authors, but I'll speak for me. We're all a little bit of a mess because there's just so much in our head. So I really wanted to paint a picture of, is this guy a mess, or is this real? Is he going crazy? I really tried to push that of, holy cow, this guy is all over the place. And it sounds like it worked, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's typical. I think a lot of people are that way where they're like, no, today I'm doing this. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, no, that was wrong. I shouldn't have. No, I'm not doing that. But with authors, a lot of times it's worse because the voices in our head don't stop and that doesn't help. So, yeah, I really tried to make him, is he believable? Is he not believable? Is he reliable? Is he not reliable? Like, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah, mission accomplished. That
Yes,
absolutely came
thank
through.
you. Perfect. I love that.
Well, I do have other questions, but you kind of alluded to this earlier.
Hmm.
Next book? Are there things that you can share that you won't get in trouble about?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you the gist of it.
Okay.
So, almost done with it. When I say that, I'm almost done with the first part of it. I'll have to do a rewrite and a polishing, then send it off to the editor. But yeah, this is a story of so completely came to me in a dream. I had a neighbor growing up that was an older woman who her husband passed away sitting in the chair in the living room. He had a heart attack and just immediately passed away. And I was only 7, so I knew what was going on, but I didn't really understand it. But my family there was a cul-de-sac, and we lived right across from it, from them. And when he passed away, we started kind of helping her with, like, my dad would help her mow the lawn and do things, and my mom would help with certain things. And then once I got old enough, I would, like, help her shovel her driveway and bring in her mail. Well, so all of that is based on that. But in the story, it's a teenage girl, and the neighbor, it starts out immediately as she's being killed. So yeah, boom, there it is. And they're trying to figure out who did it. Well, all the while, there are girls that are going missing in the town and another body found, and they realize, like, we got a situation here. Something's crazy. So Helen is the neighbor that passes away. During her life, she never was able to have kids, and she left a bunch of recordings that she thought she was going to give to her kids one day. Basically narrated her life, saying, this is how I met your dad, this is how we fell in love, and all this thing, this what he did for a living. Well, the main character, Addison, is teenage neighbor. She starts having dreams about Helen. Her name's Helen, and she decides, since she has a key, she's going to go into that house one night and get those tapes, because she thinks, she always showed me these tapes. We were very close. I'm going to keep them and listen to them. It's kind of like hey, this is how we're going to stay together and how I'm going to remember you. And she's so sad one night. She's laying in bed and missing her, and she turns on the tape and she starts narrating her life, and all these things happen. And then at the end, she said, Addie, is that you? And she's like, what in the world? And then it kind of goes a little bit crazy. And Helen might be giving her hints and dropping some things on how to find this guy that's doing the killing and the abductions. And maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. You'll have to read it.
Oh my gosh, that was giving me goosebumps because I thought of like the Poltergeist movie where the little
Mm-hmm.
girl's like talking through the TV, but you can't hear
Yeah.
it the other way. Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds so creepy in a good
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I hope so. It's been so much fun to write. I honestly think it's going to be good. You never know. You always hope for the best, but I'm having a lot of fun writing it, so I hope that people enjoy it.
Well, and that was going to be one of my questions because I know you have the establishment, I know
Hmm.
you have being. For readers that are new to you, What is kind of your recommendations for your books? Like, is there a certain way we should start out?
So they're all standalone stories, so it really doesn't matter. I will always say, maybe after this one, I don't know, but The Establishment is was my favorite by far. I don't mean by far. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But
No,
The
I love it when
Establishment,
authors have favorites. I love it when authors have
I do.
favorites.
So The Establishment has all of my hometown, different name and different characters, but it's all based on people I knew, based on me, based on where I grew up. There's a lot of Indiana in The Establishment. People that have grown up in Indiana have picked out a lot of, oh, I know what you're talking about there, and I've been there and all this stuff. And um, I actually even reached out. I had a girlfriend in fourth grade for a weekend, and that's mentioned in the book, even her name. And I reached out to her and asked her if I could use her name. She was like, yeah, I don't care. So it was my favorite because there's just a lot of Indiana and me and things that if you know me, you would be like, I know what he's talking about. I and it's because of that, I think it's the best story that I've written. Beings was my first one that I never really actually intended to be out there. I just did it to see if I could do it. And if I could, I kind of did that one just to be like, let's see what happens. Not like, oh, this is going to be taken seriously and people are going to critique it and all that. But I think it's a good story too. Where Shadows Sleep was probably darkest, craziest of the three. So they're all very different. If you read one and were like, the Establishment might not do it for you, or Beings might not do it for you, or vice versa. They might be, oh, this is a lot. I like this one a lot better. So no, long. I know that was a long-winded answer. Short story, or short answer is no. Either any order is fine. They're all their own thing. So, yeah, but I would say The Establishment first. Yes,
You know, it's funny. I thought about it because I saw the cover, and I'm also like I don't know, I'm a horrible reader. I do judge books by the cover, and The
that's okay.
Establishment, especially since you talked about Stephen King,
Hmm.
it made me think of that older The Shining cover and that like faded blue with the
Yeah,
hotel.
a lot of people have said that, and so it actually, when I got the cover back the first time, do you know the book The Sanatorium, or the what is
Yes,
it called? The Sanitarium? What is
yes,
it called? Yeah,
sanitarium.
it looked the Sanitarium. It looked just like that. And I sent it back and said, wait, that's way too close to that. So they changed it up a little bit, changed the color. They even had almost the exact same color. And I changed the color, changed that a little bit, and on the side of the mountain a little more, which you would understand when you read it, you'd be like, oh, okay, now I see where that is. Yeah. So I, yeah, overall, I think that one's the most fun. I do. I think I would always recommend that one first to a reader.
All
But
right,
you should judge book by the cover. If you like the cover, you're like, oh, I got to read this. This looks awesome. And sometimes you see a cover and you're like, that one's not for me.
well, I think as the horror and thriller and kind of the darker genres, like we have a lot of repeatable things where it's
Hmm.
like the side profile of a woman's face only half illuminated and like some cabin with like neon font and like I just am so tired of it personally. Like yes, I will find those books and I will read them if the blurb interests me, but if it's like
Yeah.
got a distinct cover
Yeah.
like The Establishment, like it catches my eye a lot
Yeah.
easier.
I agree with you. There are a lot of things that are overdone, and people have success with one thing, and then everybody wants to do the same thing. I think The Establishment Beings is a good cover because it pops right away with that eye coming out and it
Yeah.
opening up. The Establishment, I think, is simple, but it's effective. Where Shadows Sleep, I my fault or not, I don't know. I purposely told them I want it to be like murky,
Hmm.
where it looks kind of like faded, and it looks kind of, because I was thinking about like the nasty lake, and it's not like I wanted people to be like, is this dusty or what's going on here? Like that was on purpose. But yeah, no, I have been very happy with all the covers. But I'm with you. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you're like, man, this is the same, and it's got the same riding almost like a it's almost like a marker or something
Mm-hmm.
going across. Everybody's been doing that too, which is fine. I mean, I can't judge anybody, but yeah, it's not for me.
Well, I also like the Where Shadows Sleep cover because the focus is on the lake, and the
Hmm.
lake is kind of like its own character, its own
Hmm.
being in the book. So I did like the focus on that, where it's like, it's not, yes, it's about Michael and about his family, but really it is
Yeah.
anchored with the lake. It's
Yep.
serious, it's a huge
Absolutely.
part of it.
Yep.
Well, and I know we were talking earlier, you've got some travel coming up, you've got some engagements going up. Where will you
Yeah.
be?
So for people that don't know, ShiverCon is it's a huge horror thriller Midwest event. It's in Muncie, Indiana, that I'm hosting. Honestly, right now, that is it for me because that has taken up pretty much everything I have. That's also why I'm so behind on writing right now. But yeah, this is it's kind of an idea I just had about there's not a lot of events. They're all East Coast, I feel like, but there's nothing Midwestern. And people say, "Oh, there's some things in Chicago," but the Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, besides Chicago, there's just not a lot. And I wanted to do one for people in the area. I'm in Indiana, so it's only about a 45-minute drive for me. It's not too far. I hoped that we would get a lot of excitement around it. It blew up more than I could have ever imagined. And so much so that there's a lot of things I didn't think about or didn't think I'd have to do that I've had to do, which is a good problem to have. It's awesome. Yeah, we're going to have so many amazing authors there, so many indie authors, so many traditionally published authors. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, we're going to have so Richard Chismar is going to be there, Wrath James White, Marcus Cleaver is going to be there, J.H. Markert, so many. Tim Wagner is going to be there. There's so many fun people. There's a lot of people that people were surprised that were coming. And Richard Chismar's son Billy, he writes under W.H. Chismar. Yeah, I almost can't believe it, like that it's really happening. I'm so excited for it. I hope people are too.
Yeah, I think they are. I cannot make it, but Creepin'
Hmm.
It Thrill, AJ, Amber,
Yeah, yeah.
she's in Indy, and I know that she's been so excited about it. And we've found other people that are going that I don't know, would you meet people from all of the different types of the corners of the country if it wasn't for ShiverCon? So it's just even for fans, it's
Yeah,
a great event to meet fellow fans, even if you talked virtually, but in person. Like I think that's going to be an amazing experience to have that day.
absolutely. I mean, honestly, to me, that's most of the fun is getting to meet everybody. Um, I mean, we have people flying from Canada, Thailand, like all over the world. People are coming to for this, and it's insane to me that this idea just was like, "Hey, let's just do it," and now everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing! This is going to be so cool!" But yeah, getting to meet the people, like I'm standing in the front door and I'm going to say hi to everybody. I want to say hello to everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I want you to be here. That's honestly that's the biggest thing of the event is I wanted it to be like life's crazy enough and life's hard enough. So why not for a day or two? Hey, I'm glad you're here. You matter. You're important. This is going to be fun. I don't care anything about your life, like it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter how you live your life. We're here about writing and reading. We love books. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go have fun. Come on. So
Well,
that's what it's about.
for listeners that have been under a rock and are like, how do I get my tickets to ShiverCon? When are the dates? What are some details that you can give them?
So the best way is to follow our Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram, we're ShiverCon 2026. Facebook is Brandon Eldridge Presents ShiverCon. You'll find the group page. I'm an open book. You guys can send me messages. That's the best way to get info and tickets. But it's going to be August 14th and 15th in Muncie, Indiana, at the Horizon Convention Center. There is a hotel connected to the convention center, and there's a link for a discount there too if they haven't booked up already. I don't know. I'm driving. I live 45 minutes away, so I'm just driving both days. But I don't know if they've booked all the rooms yet or not. But you can go there and try to get you a room. It's so Friday night, the 14th. I wanted to give people time to get in and travel. We're going to have a panel with Wrath James White, Jonathan Jantz, and Richard Chismar talking about their involvement with Stephen King's End of the World as We Know It. So that's going to be for about an hour. And then Billy Chismar is going to do a reading of his new book, Them, which at that point will be 3 days old because it comes out that Tuesday. So that timing couldn't have been better. So he's going to do a reading, sign some books for about 30, 35 minutes. And then there's going to be a splatterpunk panel that everybody insisted we have. And I finally just said, okay, fine. And there's like 8 different authors doing that. So I can't name them off the top of my head. And then, so that's Friday night. So that goes till about 9:45. So I didn't want to be, I'm old, that's late enough, especially since I have to drive home
You have to
45 minutes.
drive.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, we're going to cut it. And then Saturday, for VIPs, which are sold out, they can get in the door at 10:30. They'll get in an hour before anybody else. So they'll come in, they'll get their VIP also came with a shirt and a tote bag and a bunch of merchandise. So they'll come in, get all their stuff, get pictures taken with all the authors, meet everybody, do whatever they want to do, and then for general admission, it's 11:30 a.m. and it's $5. You can do that at the site, which if you follow our Instagram or Facebook, you'll find where to buy tickets, or you can buy them at the door. Either way is fine. Yeah, and there'll be all kinds of merchandise, shirts, tote bags. We have shot glasses. We have all kinds of cool things, bookmarks, stickers. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't
It
wait for it.
is. It is. And I know I can't go, but I cannot wait for all of my friends' footage on it because it's just such a unique opportunity for people in this subsect of fiction to kind of meet and share love for books and authors and writing and ideas. So it's going to be amazing. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever.
Well, thank you. I have a lot of pressure on myself because, and I've told a couple of people this, if you write a book and it doesn't do well, okay, that was on me. Whatever. I can go to the next one. But if I bring all these people in and they're like, I've wasted everybody's time, and I'm like,
Nah.
ugh, I can't sleep at night thinking about people being like, it didn't turn out that great, or we did. I can't imagine, but who knows, right? So I think it'll be good. I think we're doing it for the right reasons. I think, you know, I think I think everybody's going to be happy with it. I think everybody's going to feel welcome. And to me, as long as everybody said, you know what, I forgot about life for a while, and Brandon made me feel welcome, and everybody made me feel seen and a part of something bigger than myself. If 8 people show up or 3,000, as long as everybody got that feeling, I'm good with that.
I will have all of the links that Brandon described in the description below. That way it's quick and easy to check it out if you're not already aware. If you are going to ShiverCon, sound off in the comments below. Let Brandon know you're on your way. Someone give him a hug on my behalf since I can't go. I would really appreciate it. But Brandon, thank you so much for your time today. We are so excited for the next book. We are so excited for ShiverCon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.